In this video, we will show you how to replace your driver's side front brake flex hose on this Honda Civic. This will be located inside of your front wheel well. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do, safely raise and support the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. I like to have the suspension hanging. Once you've completed that, we're going to remove all 5 of these lug nuts using a 19mm so we can remove the wheel. Now that we have the wheel off of there, we have a clear view of our brake flex hose. Now we're going to move along to paying attention to our bleeder screw attached to the caliper here. Typically, you're going to find that it has a rubber protective boot. We can remove that. If you can't remove it with your hands, you could just use a small prying device such as a pry bar or even a flat blade screwdriver. Just go ahead and give that a quick inspection and we'll set that aside. Now we can start opening up the bleeder screw. It's a good idea to use some penetrant in this area. We're going to be using a 10mm. We want to make sure we have some sort of collection receptacle under this area to collect and recycle that fluid. Let's start opening the bleeder screw here. If it feels like it's binding in any way, you want to be careful not to break it off. This one actually moved fairly freely, and I can see some fluid making its way through this area. At this point, we're going to pause here. Make our way into the passenger compartment. We have to press the brake pedal all the way down to the floor and hold it there with something such as a pry bar or a rod of some sort. Now I'm going to press this all the way in. Let's make our way back to that caliper. We're back in the wheel well. Let's go ahead and close that bleeder screw. We can remove our apparatus from this area. The next thing we're going to do after tightening that bleeder screw is make our way down along the backside of the caliper to our banjo bolt, which is what holds our flex hose to the backside of the caliper. Now, when we go to remove this banjo bolt, you're going to find that fluid typically does make its way out from this area. So we have a collection receptacle under this area. I need to recycle that fluid properly. We're using a 14mm for our banjo bolt. A quick inspection of the banjo bolt to confirm it's not rotted, weak, or damaged in any way. We will be removing any gaskets from this area. Set that aside for now. Should be able to pull this off of here. Sometimes you may need to pry it out of place if there's any rust. A quick inspection of the caliper along the mounting point here. If you see any pre-existing gasket, it needs to be removed. Go ahead and wipe down that portion of the caliper. Now let's follow the flex hose up to its next mounting point, down along the bottom of your front strut assembly. We're going to be using a 12mm to remove the mounting bolt. Thorough inspection of that mounting hardware, of course. Now we have plenty of movement from this flex hose. We're following it all the way up to its next mounting point on the body of the vehicle. What you're going to find is that you have a steel brake line leading down into the flex hose. For this, you're going to be using a 10mm. On the brake line fitting here, we just want to try to break this free. Typically, you can unscrew this. I have seen it before where the line itself is actually stuck inside of the fitting. If that's the case for you, I'm going to show you a trick. Let's use some penetrant. Now, to remove this, so I don't strip out the fitting, I'm going to use a line wrench. Some people call it a flared wrench. Okay, sounds like it broke free. Now, as you're trying to loosen this, we're paying attention to our brake line as well, right up along this area. Essentially, we want to make sure that while we're trying to turn this counterclockwise, we're not also twisting the brake line. If you are twisting the brake line, you could cause damage. Even a restriction in this area can be a brake problem. So right now, since I can't turn this any further without twisting the line, I'm going to go ahead and remove my wrench from here. The next thing we'll do is start removing the clip holding the brake flex hose to this mounting bracket. But if your fitting did come free, just completely unscrew that from that brake hose. Either way, continue on to the brake clip. Now, to remove this brake clip right along here, we just want to try to grab onto the edge of it. It should want to slide out and away. Once we have it out, we'll just give it a quick inspection, make sure it's not rotted or damaged. There's our clip. That looks good. We'll set that aside. Now we can take hold of the brake flex hose, we'll give it a wiggle and start pulling it down and away from the bracket. Now, if your fitting's still attached, we're going to have to continue turning this brake flex hose counterclockwise to completely unscrew it from the fitting itself. If your line's already separated, typically you can just pull it right on out. And there it is, friend. Prior to installation of the brand new flex hose, the next thing we need to do is clean and inspect our brake line, confirming that it's not rotted, twisted, or damaged in any way. If you can try to free up this brake line fitting. Just once again, if it doesn't feel like it's separating from the line itself, you do not want to twist the line. That's going to cause a brake fluid restriction. This one will not free up, so I'm going to continue on at least cleaning the threads on this, and then we'll also clean and inspect the mounting bracket. I'm still using a wire brush. We'll just give that a quick wipe and a close inspection. Okay, it's time to install our brand new front brake flex hose. Let's get this in position. We're starting at the top. Now, when we're going to install this, there's one thing you want to pay attention to as far as this top area. If you were to go ahead and give this a quick spin, you're going to find that this general area is circular, in exception of one area which is flat. We want to make sure we have that flat area in the same flat area on the mounting bracket itself. We can spin this as necessary so we know approximately where it needs to sit. Now at this point, typically you would want to go ahead and start in the brake line before you continue on by installing your clamp. In our case, what I'm going to do here is go ahead and start that brake hose onto the line itself, because once again, my fitting does not turn without twisting the line. I'm turning this clockwise. Okay, that should stop pretty much at the point where the flat points align between the bracket and that brake flex hose itself. Make sure it looks like it's bottomed out. If it's sitting like this, you're not going to be able to install your mounting clip. Now it's time to install our mounting clip up along the top there. When we install it, we want to pay attention to this curved portion. It should be shaped like a rainbow facing upward. And then at the very outer end, you have this small area that flips up a little bit. We'll go ahead and put this in position, holding that brake hose in place. Get it in the proper orientation. When you go to install this, confirm that you have it properly seated. If it's hanging out like this, it might fall out and you might have an issue where this moves around. For this, a small hammer should do. Tap it in there as far as possible. Take hold of the brake flex hose. We're going to give it a wiggle. It should not slide out of place. Continue on by fully tightening your brake line into the brake flex hose. Using my flare wrench for this. Now, even when tightening, you still need to confirm you're not overly twisting that brake line. We'll just get it to the point it bottoms out. You want to double check to make sure that's tight. Otherwise, you're going to find that you have a brake leak in this area, which can be extremely dangerous. Continue on with that brake flex hose to our next mounting point along the bottom of the front strut. We'll start in our 12mm headed mounting bolt. Once it's started in, you can go ahead and snug that up. Okay, we have that bottomed out. I'm just going to take it a tiny bit further here. We don't need to put too much pressure, but we do want to make sure it's secure and cannot move around. Let's continue on following that brake flex hose all the way down to the caliper next. Before we continue on installing that flex hose onto the caliper, we do want to pay attention to our banjo bolt. As I mentioned before, it's common to still have a gasket in place. You want to go ahead and pry that out of there. We are not ever going to double gasket anything like this. Double check to make sure there's no miscellaneous debris in this area, and you definitely remove that gasket. Continuing on in your kit, you're going to find it came with 2 brand new gaskets. So we're going to take one of those gaskets, we'll slide it right onto the banjo bolt. Take that banjo bolt and slide it straight on through that flex hose now. On the other side of the flex hose, we have our next gasket. At this point, there's a gasket on each side of the flex hose, and we can start bringing this into position along the back side of the caliper. As we bring this in, we're starting it in by hand. We don't want to cross thread this into the wrong positioning. You're going to have a brake fluid leak. Once you have that snug, we're going to torque this to 26 foot-pounds. My torque wrench. Double check to make sure that that's completely seated and the gaskets themselves are slightly squished. We want to have a little bit of compression here. Let's release pressure from that brake pedal. Now that we have everything installed here, the next thing that we want to do is complete a gravity bleed. To do that, we're going to make our way down to the bleeder screw using a 10mm. Go ahead and open this up. We have a collection receptacle under here. What we're waiting for is to see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out with no air bubbles. When doing this, you want to make sure you check your brake fluid master periodically to confirm it does not run dry. Okay, at this point, this has been running out for a little while here. I see only fluid making its way out with no small air bubbles. Let's go ahead and close this. Let's make sure we clean up any mess and reinstall our bleeder screw cover. The next thing we have to do is make our way into the passenger compartment. Pump up the brake pedal till it's nice and firm. If it feels as though it's only soft and squishy, you might have air trapped in the system. If that's the case, continue on with a manual brake bleed. Otherwise, continue on reinstalling your wheel. Let's get our wheel in place. Start on all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts, bottom them out. We got the wheel back on the ground. Let's torque each one of our lug nuts in a crisscross manner to that 80 foot-pounds. Torqued. All right, the vehicle's completely back together. The next thing we'll do is hop in the passenger compartment, take the vehicle for a road test, and test the functionality. Thanks for watching. In this video, we are going to show you how to bleed the brakes on this Honda Civic. Make sure you have some brake fluid and some parts cleaner. Let's get into it. Okay, friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we want to mention is you will have to safely raise and support and remove all wheels, so make sure you're in a safe area to do so. Aside from that, we have some clean .3 or 4 brake fluid and some parts cleaner. Let's start up with the master cylinder upper reservoir. Go ahead and remove the cap, give it a quick inspection and set it aside. Inside of the master cylinder, you're going to find that there's a small screen. We can remove that. Let's be careful not to get any brake fluid on any of our paint of our vehicle. For this, I'm just using a small angled pick. It's easier than reaching in by hand. Quick inspection of that screen, we'll set it aside. Now we're going to remove as much fluid from inside of the reservoir as possible. Keep in mind, this is only the upper reservoir. It still has a second reservoir all the way down at the master cylinder, but that one's pretty much impossible to drain from this area. To remove the fluid, you can use a fluid extractor. You can use one that's portable like this, or even one that uses air as a vacuum. After removing as much fluid as possible, before adding anything, let's continue on reinstalling our protective screen. We want to confirm nothing falls inside of the braking system. Top off your master cylinder with your brand new brake fluid. We're going to bring it all the way up to this line and reinstall our master cylinder cap. Now the next thing we have to do is safely raise and support the vehicle so we can remove all wheels. Once you have the wheels off, inspect the calipers and the bleeder screws. The bleeder screws need to open so we can complete this bleeding process. Now it's time to bleed the brakes. We've already removed all wheels and loosened each one of our bleeder screws, confirming that they do open properly. And the process will be the same for each wheel, but there is a specific sequence. As far as the sequence is concerned, we want to start at the driver's side front. We'll go over to the passenger side front once that's completed, make our way up to the master cylinder, and check that fluid. Top it off as necessary. After you've completed that, you're going to the passenger side rear, and then ending at the driver's side rear. To bleed the brakes, of course, we're going to have a collection receptacle because we will collect and recycle all fluid properly. This is easiest if we have a second person inside of the vehicle preparing to pump the brakes for us. Now on this caliper, I'm using a 10mm for my bleeder screw. We'll get our collection receptacle in place. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Now while they're holding, I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and we're watching to see fluid making its way out of here. Commonly, you're going to see some dirty fluid or even air. We need to repeat this process until you see only clean brake fluid making its way out. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. Okay, so we're just getting some small air bubbles there. Obviously, if you have to repeat this process several times to remove air or even dirty fluid, you want to go ahead and check that master cylinder just in case. You never want it to run dry on fluid. After that, just go ahead and lightly close it off. We can remove our apparatus from this area. Let's make sure we clean up any mess and reinstall our bleeder screw cover. Okay, we finished bleeding this brake. Let's go over to the passenger side front brake. Repeat this bleeding process. After that, stop at the master cylinder so you can top it off before proceeding to your next brake. Let's get that cap off of there. Top off our brake fluid. Now after topping off the master cylinder, we're at our passenger side rear, 10mm for that bleeder screw, and we have our collection receptacle. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. Perfect. You can release, thank you. Let's remove our wrench. We'll clean up our mess, reinstall our bleeder screw cover. Now at this point, you want to repeat this exact same process on the driver's side rear. After that, make your way back up to the master cylinder once again. Now we're back up under the hood. It's time to top off that master cylinder one last time. Double check, make sure your cap is properly secured. You don't want any dirt or moisture making its way into the braking system. Okay friend, we finished our job. The next thing you need to do is go ahead and pump up that brake pedal till it's nice and firm. Triple check for leaks. It's super important to make sure you have no brake fluid leaks. After that, reinstall every one of your wheels and torque those lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.